Okay, so today we're doing the ductwork challenge overview.
I need Steph to show me how to get into YouTube and get onto your page. Cause I'm literally
phone.
I'm to that kind of shit. I just want to straight to YouTube, right?
Where you can search for YouTube too.
Where is everybody? Have you been able to find the YouTube thing or his videos? I can't.
Gator has.
All you're gonna do is just subscribe to me.
It's not been probably Gary Rick's services. It should be there. YouTube.
Subscribe.
Sweet. I got a bunch cardboard at home.
Okay, so now we can go to YouTube.
Oh man, I was top of the list right there.
Now when you go to YouTube, no thanks.
You can go to your subscriptions and it'll be right there.
YouTube.
Subscriptions.
It's right there. Okay, right there.
You got other ones.
Maybe Jason put it in there. I didn't put it in there.
I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah, look at you, dude.
It's like me.
There it is, too.
Yeah, there's Sunny in Idaho is in there. But there should be.
You recorded the funeral? Oh.
That one right there?
Should be a bunch of videos.
On like 6 or 7, I think.
Oh, there's a lot of them. Yeah. Okay, so we're having an overview today. Thanks for being late, everybody.
Hey, we were on time.
So first off, we're gonna talk about the ductwork challenge. There's 30 fittings in the ductwork challenge. There's a transitional offset, which is rectangular, and it offsets in 2 directions, just like this top view of this one here.
That's the first one you built, huh?
That's the first one I built. So, what are your questions on this? Let's get them answered.
I don't have any questions, actually.
You don't?
There's gotta be
I don't
questions.
feel I'll have any questions till I'm in the middle of building.
I mean,
That's a good point.
sure off the square piece of duct, but I mean, how do you, is this, you can make this any size you want, just depending on what the offset's gonna be, or?
Yeah, so you're basically lining 2 ducts up together,
Yeah.
right? So,
So it's gotta go, like that.
yeah. So if your furnace looks like this,
It's a nice board.
okay, and your furnace is 16.5 furnace by 20 inches, which is a pretty standard size furnace, right?
Yeah.
And let's say, so this is looking straight down on it, all right? All of your drawings should be looking straight down on it. I know you guys were taught to draw some funky, weird
Yeah.
drawing. Don't do that, okay? That's just confusing.
Okay.
this is the only way that you're going to be able to do this, is by drawing the plain view looking down on, let's say, you know, let's say your ductwork transitions like this on this one. And let's say that it's 12, and this is the duct, so I just write a D by, let's say 18, so I'm just going to write a D. So now looking down on it, to make this 3D, what's the other measurement that I need?
The height?
The height, right. So right now we have a 2D model. If we were thinking about it in a three-dimensional model, we'd need the height. So, you know, let's just say the height is 16 inches. Okay? So I'm going to put 16 inches height. If you brought this drawing to me, I also need to know what the offset is. So let's just say that we have between here and here 4 inches.
So
And
between the edge of the duct and the edge of the furnace,
Yeah.
4 inches. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And then between here and here, we're going to have 3 inches. So look, I'm transitioning 3 inches that way, and I'm transitioning 4 inches that way. So when I get to the shop, I'm going to draw an exact representation of this. So I'm going to get out my ruler and my square, and I'm going to draw a 16.5 inch by 20 inch drawing for this. And then I'm going to measure up 3 inches here. I'm going to start my, I'm going to put a dot there, and then I'm going to measure another 18 inches, and that's where I'm going to start this over. And then I'm going to measure 4 inches right here and 4 inches right here. I'm going to draw this all looking down. If you can't draw the top view looking down to scale and square, then
That's the first step. So.
yeah. Well, the first step is having a shop drawing, which you know, you do that in the field.
But I mean, that's where you're,
Yeah, that's the very first step, drawing the shop drawing, and then the second step is, so we can write these steps down. So step number one, and this is
who was I
for
telling the other day about how
offset.
Terrell drew his.
You got a little square.
I confused the hell out of me, dude.
Yeah, I don't
The way he did it.
So step number one is a shop drawing.
But he could do it that way. I guess that's how he was taught it.
Yeah.
Step number two is to draw it to scale. Okay? So once you have it drawn to scale, like I drew this to scale, you know, I'm going to label my sides. Label sides. So this is always the bottom. This is always the top. This is always the right. And this is always the left. Okay? What's my next step? No, I'm going to start with one piece at a time. But first, my next step is to draw my true length bar. So that's just a square drawing. That's just a square drawing. And this represents the height of the fitting, right? So I'm going to measure up, and I'm going to get my 16-inch mark. So the next step is to draw the true length bar. Okay. Then my next step is to plot the height of each fitting on the true length bar. Plot height, H, I before E, height, true length bar. And that's for your right side for your left side,
I made it past kindergarten, leave me alone.
for your top, and for your bottom. So, how do I plot my true length bar? Well, this is going to be off of a square plane, right? Off of square plane. Okay, so I can use a ruler to do this with. I can use a compass to do this with. You know, for instance, if I was using a ruler and this was an actual scale drawing, right? You got to have a scale drawing. I would say, oh, well, look at that. That's 4. So my right-hand side off of a square plane is 4 inches. I just have to put right here, R. You know, that's actually pretty cool that it ended up being 4 inches because that's what that says it is. Okay, this is 3 inches. As you can see, that's not to scale, but I'm just going to draw it in. It's looks like about 2 1/4. So there, 2 1/4, and that's going to be my bottom. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my left. You know, my left is going to be a piece of duct that just drops down to here, right? So that one in this particular case is 4 3/8 or so. So there, 4 3/8 or so, and that's going to be my left. And then of course my top, 2 1/4. That's going to be the same thing as my bottom, so that's going to be my top. So now I've got 4 reference points that I'm going to start doing here, okay? Now, so if I was going to lay out my bottom, from here to my 16-inch mark is my true length. If it was square, it would start right here. That would be my plotted mark. If this was right here all the way down, my plotted mark would be exactly 16 inches. Okay? Let's see here. Was that 16? Oh man, look how good I am. Let's just mark that as 16. So, my bottom piece, I'm just going to start with my bottom piece. I'm going to say, okay, my total length, it's going to be a little bit more than 16 because I'm not square, is like 16 1/4 for my bottom piece. So when I go to lay out my bottom piece, I'm going to first add what? My equipment flange, because it's a furnace, right? F for furnace. And then, so I'm going to draw a 1/2 inch. So now I'm going to use my height. Use height to lay out the bottom, to lay out each side. And this is use the height of what? Of my true length bar, right? So use height of true length bar.
Can you read cursive?
Curtis, shut up. I don't think I can write it anymore. Though.
Okay, so I'm going to use the height of my true length bar to plot out each side. I mean to lay out each side.
You know, I'm just messing with you. I can't spell it. Shit.
Okay, so for instance, if I was doing the bottom piece, I'd go from my 16-inch mark on my true length bar right to my B for bottom. So in this case, it'd be 16. So When I lay it out, I'm going to get a square piece of metal, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to draw my equipment flange.
Get metal. Well, never mind.
Okay, so first I'm going to draw my equipment flange. Which could be a double half. You know, I usually just draw in a half because it's got to be sealed anyway. It doesn't matter anymore if you got a double half, because you're going to be pooking it to the equipment or siliconing it to the equipment, so, or taping it to the equipment. So I usually just draw my equipment flange in at 1/2 inch, and then I measure up from my 1/2 inch using my true length bar, which in this case my bottom is 16 1/4. So number 8 is measure up the distance or the height of the true length bar.
You're gonna just put TLB for.
Well,
You wanna cut.
let's write it out. Okay, is everybody with me on this?
Yeah.
You guys are
So
with me?
far.
Pretty simple, right?
Like when you're at the house and you're looking down, is this? How do you get the measurement here? Do you like go off the wall?
No, you grab your level, set it right here,
there, and then okay.
and then measure
Or
between
two
there
tape
and there.
measures, Okay. All right.
Or you can take a square
Yeah.
and set it on top of your furnace.